Workmen were carrying out maintenance on a bridge on Thomas's branch line. The structure had become unstable and needed to be reinforced. This meant engines had to take great care while passing under it to not disrupt or startle the workmen. One day, however, as Thomas was passing underneath the bridge, he saw a child walking on it overhead. Without regard for the workmen, he whistled, "Hello!" catching one of them off guard and dropping a brick that bounced off his whistle. When Thomas whistled again, it sounded strange. "It sounds like an American whistle," he said. "We can't do anything about it now," said his driver. "We'll just have to wait until you're cool." This made Thomas annoyed. His grievances didn't end when he met Henry at the junction.
My, Thomas. Seems like you've taken up a musical act. Take my advice, though. Don't quit that little branch of yours.
Thomas just fumed and wheezed angrily. It was even worse in the shed that night when the other engines heard the news.
"You may as well go up and join the little engines in the hills," chuckled Gordon. "You wouldn't be able to hear the difference."
"I'd call it an improvement," added James. "Much more appealing than that little twittery thing he had before."
Thomas just sat in silence, trying to ignore them.
"Don't you worry yourself, lad," said Douglas. "They said similar things to me and Donald when we first arrived."
"Oh no, Douglas, this is far worse than that. You two at least sounded proper. Thomas here just sounds like a child spamming random notes on a tin whistle."
Thomas just continued to sulk in silence as his driver cleaned the fragments of brick from his whistle. A few days later, Henry was resting in the yard. Bill and Ben were angrily shunting his goods train nearby. They bickered angrily.
"No, Bill, that tinker is meant for Arthur's train later. These stone trucks are meant to go on instead." "But you said that stone was meant for Murdoch's heavy goods."
The twins continued bickering until the yard manager had to get involved.
"You two better stop this quarrelling and get back to work, or I'll make sure you both are up to your buffers on rubbish trains."
The twins chose to keep their mouths shut at this comment. Ben, however, was still in a bad temper and shunted the trucks of stone with a bump and sent stones flying and bouncing off of Henry.
"Watch it, no need to take your anger out on me."
Ben ignored him and just went back to his shunting. Soon it was time for Henry to leave. As he took off, however, he felt something loose near his cab. Soon he was making his way along the line nicely, until he whistled to Gordon, and his whistle made an unusual noise.
"Taking a tune out of Thomas's pipes, are we, Henry? I must say, I much preferred his notes to that."
Henry was confused and embarrassed.
"Why is my whistle like this?"
"It was probably one of those stones that hit you," said his driver. "One of them could have knocked your whistle out of place."
Henry was not pleased and tried his best to not whistle for the rest of the day. But whenever he did, it was met with chuckles and witty remarks. When Thomas heard it at the junction, he just laughed. Well, Henry, I knew you were a fan of my musical number, but to try and imitate someone else's style and pass it off as your own is just embarrassing. Take my advice and try and create your own original pieces." Thomas puffed away, leaving Henry red in the face. He did his best to avoid the subject of musical numbers for quite some time.